Do you want more faith? Anybody? Yeah? You want more faith? You want to have a stronger faith? Seems like a reasonable enough request. You know, Jesus, increase our faith. That's what the disciples asked for in our gospel text. They wanted to have more faith. They wanted to have a stronger faith. Well, it's interesting because if you look at this gospel text and why is this question suddenly being asked by the disciples, if you look back at what has happened just previously to these verses, Jesus has been telling them some rather interesting things that need doing. And last week we heard the story of the rich man and poor man Lazarus. Jesus has been telling his disciples, and for that matter, the Pharisees, the scribes, anybody who listens to him, that one of the things that needs doing is to care for the poor, for the rich man, poor man Lazarus, who's lying at his gate, lying on his doorstep. Well, that's one of the things that needs doing. Then immediately after that, then Jesus starts telling the disciples about forgiveness. And in Luke's gospel, this is where we get to the verses about, and if your brother or sister sins against you 7 times in one day, forgive that person 7 times. I don't think you're even up to 1 yet. But when you leave to go and leave me, I will need another. 7 times you're supposed to forgive in one day. Of course, that's better than the other gospel, which they said, Lord, how many times should I forgive my brother? Peter wants to know. As many as 7 times? And Jesus says, no, 70 times 7. Let's see, you're up to 253. Forgiveness. That's one of those things that Jesus is telling the disciples that needs doing. Forgive. Just do it. And they ask him then, Lord, increase our faith. It's as if they're saying to Jesus, well, okay, we could do that, but we need to have more faith. Sounds reasonable. But what's interesting is that Jesus then throws their request back at them. It's like he just throws it right back in their faces. He says that, you know, if you only had a speck of faith, a speck. The image that we usually have is faith the size of a mustard seed. If you had only a speck of faith, you could do unimaginable things. You could say to this mulberry tree, be planted in the sea, and it would be. Or you could say to this mountain, be moved, and it would be, if you had just a tiny little speck of faith. Oh. Well, then we need to have more faith, right? So we can tell mulberry trees to be planted in the sea? Huh? Do we want to have more faith so we can do these spectacular, grandiose kinds of things to show what? Show the world that we believe in Jesus, that we believe in God? I think at that point it sort of almost becomes about what I can do rather than what God does. Increase my faith. If you had just a tiny little speck, you could do imaginable things. And then Jesus goes on and he says something that is really strange. Because he says to them, consider this. Should a slave, we would think servant today, should a servant expect to be thanked for doing what they're supposed to do? Huh? Well, that seems to be one of those rhetorical questions, and the anticipated answer is, well, of course not. You know, you're supposed to do what you're supposed to do. And we stop and think through that just a bit, we might then come to the conclusion that Jesus is saying to the disciples, stop worrying about whether you have enough faith and just get to the business at hand. Don't worry whether you have strong enough faith. Don't fret over whether you've got enough faith. Just get to the business at hand. So that, for me, raises the question. Is faith simply about doing what we see needs to be done? Is faith simply doing what needs to be done? Maybe faith does not have to be this great heroic kind of thing. You know, if you have enough faith, you could go to another country and be a missionary. Oh, that sounds wonderful, doesn't it? Sounds like a really great thing to do. If you had enough faith, you could go to another country and be a missionary. And everybody would say, look at this person. Oh, yes. Look at this person going off to foreign lands to bring the good news of Jesus to those heathen people. Well, nothing wrong with that. But it sounds like Jesus is saying faith is about doing what needs to be done right here. Right here. And maybe faith doesn't really even have to be particularly religious. Oh. It doesn't? Maybe faith is just being attentive to the needs around us and committing ourselves to doing whatever it is that we can with whatever it is that we've got, which God has given us, by the way, doing whatever it is we can with whatever we've got and trusting God to make use of it. Maybe that's what faith really is about. Give you an example. Back in July, the city of Detroit declared bankruptcy. All right, you saw it on the news. The biggest metropolitan corporation ever to declare bankruptcy in the history of the United States. Detroit declared bankruptcy, and that meant that the services that had been funded by the city, which had already been slowing down, many of those services just went away. You know? The parks were not being cared for. If you called 911, you were lucky if somebody responded within an hour. All sorts of things. You've probably seen the pictures of what happened in Detroit and what continues to happen in Detroit. And you know that, yeah, it looks pretty bad. So what do we humans do in a situation like this? Typically, we tend to shake our heads and complain and you know, things are getting so bad, they ought to do something about it. Or we might even write an editorial to the newspaper. Or we might move someplace else. It's so bad in Detroit, let's move. But there are other options. There are other options. And here's one of them. Lucas, hit it.
When they close a park, they don't actually close it. They just stop mowing it and stop coming by, pick up the trash and that sort of thing. And I thought, hey, this is something that, you know, I could do. I could go buy a lawn tractor on Craigslist and start mowing parks. That seems pretty reasonable. When you mow under a swing set, almost always, before you're done mowing, a kid or a group of kids will come and start swinging on the swing set. And those kids have been waiting to play on that swing set. They just couldn't come out there when the grass was so long. So it's not a beautification thing. I mean, adults, you know, if you want to, you can go plant flowers. The issue is that there's a lot of kids in Detroit and someone has snatched away all the play places for them. Is that what social innovation is? It's people like me who are from outside the system can see a bit of low-hanging fruit and say, I can do that? Yeah, I don't know. I don't think about these things in the way that you guys think about them. I just saw a need that needed to be addressed. And I mean, I was looking for volunteer work, and I wanted something that was fun and impactful. So I found other people that enjoy it too. We have a good time doing it. It's not like it doesn't feel like work when we're at it. It's kind of like a biker gang, but with lawnmowers. The parks that we work on have started to sprout out, like youth football leagues are playing there now. There's one place with O'Shea Playground, which had a shuttered recreation center there, and it was all burned out and everything. And we started mowing the place, and now football teams come out, and between the times we mow, they cut their practice field one extra time in the span of every time we're there. So they're playing on the field, they're taking care of the field, they're looking out for it, and that's the type of stuff that I like to see.
Urban innovation. Well, maybe this is faith. Maybe what's going on in Detroit with these, quote, lawnmower gangs. Did you catch that? It's like having a biker gang only with lawnmowers. Maybe what they're doing, we can name it as faithfulness. If faith is simply doing something about a need that you see that can be addressed. Did you catch that line in there? Where he said, I saw a need that needed to be addressed and did something about it. If that's what faithfulness is, and you know something? Each one of us has all the faith that we need. We already have all the faith that we need. And once we understand that, then we have to look around. What is it that we see around us that needs doing? What is it that we see around us, immediately around us, that needs doing? Do the dishes. Wash the car. Make your bed in the morning. Or maybe pick up your side of the pastoral office space. Please? Faithfulness. Faith is doing what needs doing. And in the doing, our faith grows and is strengthened. It doesn't have to be a heroic kind of thing. Something very simple. Chores, jobs, the things that I really don't like to do every day because, you know, you just need to do it all over again. It's a good thing my family comes once or twice a year. Otherwise, I don't know that the house would get cleaned the way it ought to get cleaned. Doing the things that need doing. Faith. Faithfulness. Okay. Living out of that space that we call faith. Our faith grows as we do the things that need to be doing. Say a prayer. Write a card to send to someone who's homebound. Make a phone call. Clip out coupons. Post family promise. Lord, increase our faith. Well, if you have faith, you can do what needs doing, and your faith is going to grow. Go to work. Do the laundry. Pay the bills. Do your homework. That is faithfulness. That is faith enough. So you can do what needs to be done. And then, look at what's happening with these guys in Detroit and name it as faithfulness. I don't know if they are particularly religious. And quite frankly, that's not the important thing about this. These guys are working from a space of faith, doing what needs to be done. And oh, yeah, that meant that as soon as they mow under the swing set, suddenly there's a pack of kids who start swinging, start playing. Oh, it means that the youth football league, they come out and between times that these guys are mowing, they'll mow their field as well. Faithfulness, doing what needs to be done, and it spreads. It spreads. It spreads. Is it of our own making, this faith? No. Faith is a gift from God. Faith is a gift that we have received from God. And the only way for it to grow and be strengthened is for us to do what needs to be done in the community in which we have been placed, because that affects the greater community. That takes care of all God's people in this place, and as it spreads, who knows, maybe all the way around the world. It grows, it strengthens. For us, it grows and strengthens as we can see others and thank them for their faithfulness. Name those things wherever you see it happening as faith at work. Claim those things that you do yourself as faith at work. We don't need to say to Jesus, increase our faith. No, He's already given us faith enough so we can do what needs doing and give the glory to God. Amen.